Hi.
Hello. Hi. It's so
Happy
good
to
to
be
see
here.
you. Yes,
Yeah.
I
I forgot to show you my coffee mug.
they do. Seaweed. That's awesome. I love it. Oh, it's so good to see you. We definitely had a little break for a little bit, but we are back at it. So I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, you too. Glad to see you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of, like, Delta 8 is a real big hot topic in Texas right now because some regulating authorities have spoken out on it since our legislative session, and so now everybody's sort of scrambling to understand, and I think that's happening nationwide. So I'm glad we're going to talk about, like, but what in the heck is it? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So before we get started, I just want to briefly have you introduce yourself. I'll introduce myself and then we'll get started on why we're here, which is Delta 8 and some minor cannabinoids.
Okay, hi y'all. I'm Amanda. I am a licensed esthetician. I teach cosmetic chemistry. I am an herbalist, and I am a cannabis educator. And it's pretty common that all those worlds collide for me, and it's really exciting for me when they do. But I started using plant medicine, and then also came into cannabis, and it healed me of some ailments and conditions that I had. And so I had to spread the word. And so now I advocate here in my state. I'm in Texas, and federally also, and I educate on the plant. So that's just a little bit.
A little bit, and you and Amanda in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
So yeah, and I'm sure everyone knows, if you're not familiar with myself as well, but again, my name is Heather Kreider. I am a registered nurse in the state of Pennsylvania, also a licensed esthetician in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm one of the co-founders and co-owners of Hempfield Botanicals, and soon to be Hempfield Apothecary after the beginning of the year, which is so exciting. We'll definitely be filling everybody in on that and what all we are going to be doing in our new space. So we're super excited about that. But again, a little bit about me as a cannabis advocate as well. I very much believe in plant-based medicine, not just cannabis, but in other types and forms of plant-based medicine. So it's been a part of my life since I was a little girl. It stems way back from when my grandfather was a forager back in the day, and I used to go with him. And so I learned from an early age that what the earth provides can be very powerful. So one of those things is cannabis, and I'm a huge advocate for it. I am a medical marijuana card holder in the state of Pennsylvania as well. So yeah, a little bit about me, and so I guess we'll just get started right away. So Amanda, without further ado,
So
you take over.
yes. So let's try to take some of the mystery out of the deltas, the Delta sisters. So Delta 8 and Delta 9 and Delta 10. So Delta 9 is what people are going to refer to commonly as regular THC. It's the most abundant of the deltas of the tetrahydrocannabinol in the plant. Chemically, though, the Delta 8 and Delta 9 and Delta 10 all operate kind of on the same basic concept. They're all derived from cannabis in different ways. They're all cannabinoids that occur naturally in cannabis in different levels. But with these different versions of THC, Delta 8 THC, Delta 9, Delta 10 THC, it's just a matter of where, without going into too much chemistry, but it's just a matter of where the bonds are in the chemical structure. So like your Delta 9 or your regular THC has a bond on the 9th carbon chain of its molecule, so Delta 9. So having a bond on the 8th or the 10th makes it, not enough of a difference to alter the way it interacts with our body completely, just to alter the way it interacts with our body a little bit. But the effects of the three are all still so familiar. But Delta 8, the reason Delta 8, we hear so much about Delta 8, is because it can be derived from hemp. It has a similar effect on your body as delta 9, but overall it's like gentler. It's a lesser sort of effect. Most people simply say that they have to consume more delta 8 to get the same feeling that they did with delta 9. But delta 9 THC is found in concentrations naturally in the plant in as high as 30-something% in certain strains of marijuana. Well, delta 8 THC only exists in really, really, really small, lower than 1% of any cannabis, including hemp. So it's really minor, like more minor than the minors, right?
Wow,
So
yes.
delta 8 THC is being synthesized or created from CBD that's derived from legal hemp through this process called isomerization. So they're creating delta 8 THC from CBD. So I'm going to read because I don't want to get it wrong. I'm going to read what the Hemp Farming Act says, because this kind of, I think, explains why is it legal or not legal.
Right.
The Hemp Farming Act of 2018 defines hemp as the plant Cannabis sativa L and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof and all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts of isomers. So whether growing or not with a delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry rate basis. Okay, so what that's saying is it's mentioning delta 9 specifically, and it's saying that it can't exist in over 0.3%. So 0.31 is too much. So to make it legal in Texas, I mean, in the United States, to make it legal, the Hemp Farming Act says it cannot contain more than 0.3% THC. Okay, everybody kind of knows that, but it doesn't mention any other THC, right? So by definition, delta 8 is an isomer of CBD, like it mentions isomer, and it falls under the definition of hemp. So it's almost as if currently we're presuming that it's legal by federal laws simply because it isn't illegal.
Right.
Okay. So state laws are really fuzzy. Some states have completely made it illegal, but some states are just, the state laws are really fuzzy and sort of undefined. And I find that all attorneys right now, most of them are telling you like the delta 8 is such murky waters. And unless we deschedule cannabis or reschedule it at least federally, then the laws are like really not on our side for delta 8. However, it's out there, it's everywhere. It's easy for people to figure out how to make it. These manufacturers, you dissolve, so you have your hemp and you extract your for CBD and you dissolve it into an acid. And that chemical process, it turns into THC, and then over time delta 9, and then over time it becomes delta 8. And I'm oversimplifying all of this, but the final result is like carefully refined to concentrate this delta 8 material and then remove any unwanted chemicals, like, and hopefully. So through that method, the CBD from hemp, the CBD extract becomes like this highly concentrated delta 8 that can be used to make different things, right? So regardless of whether it's used to make like a vape cart or edibles or a tincture or oil or something anywhere in between, a good manufacturer, just like CBD, is going to batch test to verify the potency of their delta 8 and, most importantly, the safety of their delta 8. So because it is not naturally occurring in the hemp plant in high quantities, it definitely is being going through an isomerization or a type of synthetic process. So if you're in a store and they're selling delta 8 hemp flower or bud to smoke or to bake or whatever you want to do with it, just know that the delta 8 that's present is not natural in that flower. So it has to have been added or coated or sprayed or whatever method they've done to it. So I personally wouldn't recommend smoking that. I know a lot of people do, but it's just not, delta 8 is not naturally occurring in smokable hemp flower. That's important to know. I mean, just like with your CBD, I mean, you still can ask for third-party lab tests and hold these manufacturers accountable the same way we did with CBD, and if not more so, because of it has to go through extra processes to be Delta 8. But you know, we want them to prove the label accuracy and the safety, and just like CBD. So the same thing is Delta 10 is pretty much the same way. That you don't see a lot of Delta 10 right now, but it's derived in a real similar way as Delta 8. It's way less potent than Delta 9. Delta 10 seems to be a little less sedating and a little more uplifting, but that's just sort of, you know, just like people are reporting that. There's not a ton of testing on Delta 8 and Delta 10 for recreational use. So I don't really consider, like, I know we're going to talk about minor cannabinoids today. I don't necessarily really consider those naturally occurring minor cannabinoids because they're in such low concentration that even though they are naturally occurring, we're actually manipulating other cannabinoids to become those. We're not using the 1% of Delta 8 that's present in cannabis. We're manipulating the CBD to turn it into more Delta 8. So I know that, like in states where, you know, people don't have a good medical program or they don't have access recreationally, that a lot of Delta 8 is being sold, and it's, you know, it gives a THC, a Delta 9 like effect. It's a very familiar sort of effect that people are really, they're really after it because they don't have safe or legal access in other ways. So I think it's interesting to see, like, where is it going to go? There's I'd love to remain hopeful and say, heck, if we could just deschedule the plant, then make this tetrahydrocannabinol a non-issue, then then we could, you know, regulate it better. It would be safer. We wouldn't be having all these what ifs. But there's another, I don't know if you've heard of THCO. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
Yeah, it actually, when I first saw it, I thought it was THC 0 because, you know, how would I know? Until I understood it's an acetate. So it's 3 times stronger than Delta 9.
What?
I know, it's 3 times stronger than Delta 9. So it's so volatile, the process. It's a highly flammable compound is added. It's, what is it, acetic something,
Acetyl alcohol,
acetic anhydride. Yeah, so that's added to Delta 8. Okay, so you've already turned CBD from hemp into Delta 8, and now you can add this other flammable compound to turn it. And I keep saying flammable because, you know, you want to hope they all know what they're doing, but you can add it to make to the Delta 8 to make THCO. And I just feel like if people start figuring out, or I'm sure they're already figuring it out, but if people start bringing that to market, and I'm sure that they are already bringing it to market, I just haven't personally seen anyone in my state, a couple of problems. It seems like a couple of problems, like manufacturing processes are going to have to be better regulated because it's a little bigger risk, right? But also because it gets you 3 times more high, there's going to be a lot of people kind of freaking out. So did you see the FDA, when the FDA came out like 3 weeks ago and said Delta 8's so dangerous, there's been people hospitalized?
Yes.
Do you know how many people were went to the hospital?
2.
19 people. 19 people in 3 years go to the hospital for this, and the FDA puts out a warning. Tell me how many people died of drinking and driving in the last 2 years, and there are no warnings against alcohol.
Yeah.
So they put it out because it's such a gray area, and they're not, the FDA obviously doesn't make laws or enforce laws. And so I thought that was kind of, they did the same thing to CBD, right? They came out with all these warnings.
Exactly. Interesting. So that's
but look
that they have to process it so much that
right.
So I always I always, even from our other business, from Make Sense and manufacturing experience in the past with skincare products and body products, all that, I always say if it doesn't come out of the ground in a very minimally processed way, I'm not comfortable saying that that's a natural product. It might be naturally occurring, but what they do to that over and over and over again is changing that so much, and they're adding so many things to it to get that to the where it needs to be. But to me, that's not natural anymore. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I understand that. And it's not even like we understand things like CO2 extraction being cleaner, and
Yes.
we understand that there are safer ways to even use solvents, which are really common and can be really safe too. Um, but these sort of new tetrahydrocannabinols or new THCs are
Mhm.
being manipulated quite a bit when they're coming from CBD. And
Okay.
so that's just something to consider for sure.
Yes.
And you know what's I mean, I appreciate that Delta 8 is bringing relief to people that probably didn't have access before.
Right.
I personally have tried it. I didn't love it, but I'm also like a whole plant kind of give me the
Yes.
full spectrum kind of person. I took CBD with it, and it was an edible, and I was just, you know, I was like, nah, it just was like T Delta 9 light, I guess.
Right.
And I can appreciate though that people need the medicine and they're really
Yes.
wanting it's helping them. And that's fantastic. Let's do
Yes.
everything we can to just make sure that it's a safe product.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not regulated, and I'm not I'm not pro over regulation, but right now there's a enormous lack of
Yes.
Delta 8 regulation.
Something has to happen. Yep. I
Yeah,
agree. Same with
and it
CBD.
will.
You know what I mean? Just standard CBD and full spectrum part, oral oils and things like that. There has to be
Right,
some sort of standardization, and eventually there will be. But
right. Yeah, and you know, I guess that all it all trickles down from, you know, federal regulation, federal legalization or not.
great. I
So,
mean, I saw on the slide, I had the slide up quick, the first slide that you had, and I noticed the bottom point on there. So
which
Delta 8
I'm
actually
looking
can
is
make
it
you fail a drug test.
oh yeah, girl. So like
Yeah.
if 0.3% THC in hemp
Yes.
can make you fail, then for sure, because all the drug tests are testing for is THC.
So not
I didn't say they're testing for 8, 9, or 10. You don't
interesting.
know. And
Interesting.
so they can, yeah. And you know, some people don't even know that they could fail a drug test with full spectrum
Yeah.
CBD.
Yep.
So they're definitely not thinking of this. And
Good to know.
it's
I
THC.
actually didn't realize that. For some reason, I thought the tests were very specific enough that it was specifically testing for the illegal substance, which is Delta 9. So
Right, right,
good to
right.
know.
I know, kind of scary.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about minor cannabinoids that are
Yeah.
naturally occurring? Because these are good ones. These are good ones.
Yes.
So your major cannabinoids, CBD and THC, they're the most abundant in the plant. Granted, plants can be manipulated and genetically to have higher levels of certain cannabinoids, and then environment can affect that too. But the major cannabinoids are CBD and THC, the ones we know the most about. Um, but your minor cannabinoids are naturally occurring in the plant. They're just naturally occurring. They're just far less plentiful. There's less of them. So it doesn't matter whether a cannabinoid is categorized as major or minor. Most cannabinoids start out as a form of CBG.
Mhm.
So um, canna- cannabigerolic acid, CBGA, is what's in the plant. When it's heated or manipulated or over time, you lose that acid molecule and it becomes CBG. So CBG, I love this slide. This is a good one. So CBG is present in the plant at a younger age because it isn't until with time that it evolves into developing CBD or THC or dropping the acid and being CBG. So it is, so it's the acid precursor, we call it, to the other cannabinoids. So these cannabinoids, such as CBD and THC, come from CBG, but CBG can still be present even after some of it has evolved into those. CBG is not psychoactive, so like CBD, it's not psychoactive. It won't get you high. It is interesting to me that CBG is still regarded as a minor cannabinoid when it has such a huge, like, wide range of benefits. There's so much going on with this. It's just, I think that potentially for therapeutic uses, for medicinal uses, that CBG could potentially blow CBD and THC out of the water. And I say that because studies are showing that it does a little bit of what both of those do.
Yeah.
And a huge advantage for a lot of people is that you don't have the euphoria, you don't have the high. So that enables you to be able to treat your pain during the day or when you have to leave the house or be around. So I really am interested to see, where it goes. But there's a great, I know of one in Texas, a company in Texas that makes a great CBG product, and there's a lot of really good hemp companies that are doing that. So I'm really happy to see that. But so whereas like your minor cannabinoids are found in the limited concentrations in the plant, and they're developed over certain manipulating genetics or unique sort of growing environments for a really long time, and I guess even today to a lesser extent, extraction and isolation was really difficult and sort of unattractive to researchers. Difficult because we hadn't always had the technology, and unattractive because it's federally illegal. So as these extraction and cultivation methods are improved, and these new approaches to produce cannabinoids in the lab, I think we'll have more and more research. It's pretty amazing to me that all the things that CBG does, it's inflammation, it's pain, nausea, it slows the spread of some cancer cells, both in vitro and in vivo, so in the petri dish and in the person.
Yeah.
It treats glaucoma. So you see a lot of similarities, like CBD has been our go-to inflammation cannabinoid, whereas THC has been for glaucoma. So it's interesting the things that it does, which makes sense because it's the mom of those two, right? So it would make sense that it would be able to do both.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I think it's so pretty cool. I geek out over CBG. So another minor cannabinoid that there's a ton of research, and I really like this one because for skincare. And I'll get ahead. I'm getting ahead. Is CBC. So cannabichrome. Don't tell me. Cannabichromine.
There you go.
Told you today. I told you today was that day I couldn't speak. So this one is excellent for pain and also not psychoactive. So I know that's really interesting because we tend to think of THC being for pain. So this is excellent for pain. It's not psychoactive, and the reason it's not psychoactive is logical to you, is because it doesn't bind to CB1 receptor. So with a really weak affinity for CB1, it's not going to give you that euphoria. So interesting though, CBC does bind with other receptors in your body. So you have other receptors that aren't necessarily cannabinoid receptors. They are the Trpv1 and the Trpa1. And I don't remember if I sent you my cannabis in skincare video that I did. It was an education video. I did it over COVID. I'll send it to you, but okay. I did it for a conference, the skincare conference. I can't remember. But you referred them to me. It was a skincare conference, and you referred them to me for this.
Oh, yes. American Spa. Wasn't it American Spa? Yeah, American Spa magazine.
Okay, so what I talked about a lot was how the TRPV receptors that are present in your whole body, but lots of them in your skin, they're not cannabinoid receptors, but they influence cannabinoid receptors. So CBC works with those TRPV receptors, and those are linked to certain to things like pain. So really good for activating those receptors which affect cannabinoid receptors. It's interesting. So what CBC does is it increases the body's level of your natural endogenous cannabinoids. So if it inhibits the uptake of anandamide, so it stays in your bloodstream longer. So anandamide, for those of you who don't know, is it's your bliss molecule, your joy molecule, the molecule that runs through your body when you're feeling joy. And so it's a good, CBC is a good minor cannabinoid for depression. So CBC has, it has these singular benefits, but one thing that I also have just started learning is researchers really think that it works synergistically to boost other cannabinoids, which we all talk about the entourage effect, entourage, but CBC literally is like the cheerleader for these other cannabinoids.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? It's
Yeah,
a really
cool.
really cool. So because it you know, we know that it keeps that bliss molecule anandamide in your bloodstream longer, and there has been cancer treatments that used anandamide. So obviously it might be used in the for tumor growth. They say that for tumor growth for cancer, it is the second most potent cannabinoid at inhibiting the growth of new cancer cells. And when I say second most, you're like, but what's the first? It's CBG. So here we are talking about cancer. And I'm not saying these things cure cancer. I'm saying the studies are being done that are continuing to prove that the possibility is definitely there.
Yep.
But here we are, but we're talking about CBC and CBG being like the top two. We're not even talking about THC and CBD.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about the two that people have the most access to.
Exactly.
So it also is effective against neurodegenerative diseases. So like that's a lot. That's inflammation too, though, right?
Yeah.
So here's the esthetician geek out part. So CBC in the skin can work with inflammation. There's been tests that it was tested on strains of MRSA bacteria and as an antifungal, and it suppresses imbalance and regulates lipid production in the sebaceous glands. So if I can balance your sebaceous glands and decrease inflammation and kill bacteria and fungal issues, I have got an acne product that's going to take over the world. So
What?
I know, like that's a good one. That's a good one. You're a good little cannabinoid. What was CBN? CBN's the other one that we picked was, so CBN cannabinol is long been said to be the cannabinoid that makes you sleepy, right?
Yep, and for nighttime.
Yes. And so this is the research that I have seen lately is well, let's talk about some things it does. It's an appetite stimulant, but it is not euphoric. So there's no intoxicating or psychoactive effect. So there's certainly a place for that, right? If someone needs appetite stimulation, but they cannot be stoned all day, that is perfect for that. So it doesn't have the high that THC has. So what I found out with CBN is it occurs naturally in cannabis, you know, that's aged or exposed to light or exposed to air and oxidized, essentially. But it doesn't often, when that's just a natural way, it doesn't often completely turn into CBN. There's still some THC left. And so people are probably, when they're finding old product or they're intentionally letting it age, they're getting something that is both, that's CBN and THC. But what the research that I saw said, and I was kind of surprised because I think I posted it in the medical marijuana group because I was kind of like, wow, myth busted.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that amazing?
Because what the research shows is that CBN does not induce sleep more than THC. It takes greater quantities of CBN than THC to induce sleepiness. But the two of them together are greater and produce sleepiness way better than they could. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
Yeah. So the dynamic duo of sleep.
Right. So it's both. So all this time we've been CBN makes you sleepy, CBN makes you sleepy, and it's really CBN added to your THC. Just like if they've discovered that CBG seems to be the best cancer fighting cannabinoid so far, then and CBC seems to be the second best, then for sure you'd want them together, right?
Yes, exactly. The more the better for me.
Yeah. And I know that last slide I sent you.
Yep.
If anybody's watching, if anybody's watching this on, if anybody's watching on the phone, it's kind of hard to read, but it's such a good slide. So if you go back later and look on your laptop or something, you'll be able to see it. But it really is, it really shows you a lot of minor cannabinoids.
Slide.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'd like to rework it so it's easy. Maybe put it into two or three slides, but it's a good one.
And I love how it has it organized by raw. So that's one thing we can talk about at some point. In the raw form, juicing leaves, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
For sure. Smoothies, things like that. So I've definitely used some leaves in cooking in the past, and it's delicious. So yeah.
Plus the other antioxidants that you get and the chlorophyll and everything you get from the raw form, just like other plants.
Exactly. Yeah. So fun. I love it. Well, that was so informative.
That was a lot.
It was a lot. So I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch this episode and make some notes as well. But yeah, that was amazing. You did a fantastic job. You're always a plethora of knowledge.
Well, I missed you. I missed doing this. So I'm glad we're back. And then what's our date for November? I don't have
so our next one is actually we're going to do it once a month instead of every 2 weeks, just until we get past our move. And then we'll definitely be catching up with every other week.
So what's the date?
Yeah, the date is going to be November 17th. So
it's
Wednesday before the week before Thanksgiving. So it'll be the 17th. And we'll actually be talking about combustion versus
vaporization.
Oh my gosh, my brain. And vaporization. So what's the difference whether you're lighting it or vaporizing it? And there is a difference. And it can be used vaporization can be used in different ways. So we're going to go over that, whether it's a dry herb vaporizer or a cartridge. So there's different forms and ways that you can use that. So we're going to be discussing that. So I'm so excited. We'll be showing you in the next episode some devices as well. So this is just a quick preview of our device that we have here, our vaporizer. So yeah, it'll be fun. So that will be, we said what, November 17th?
Yep.
7:00 Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be having another discussion on cannabis then. So, but if in the meantime, if anyone has any topics that you're interested in us discussing, please leave them in the comments below. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments as well. Amanda and I would love to answer any of your questions or topics, like I said, topics in the future. So I guess we are all finished for this evening, so we will sign off, but I will see you in a month from now. And thank you very much, Amanda.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care,
everybody.
Yes. Take care.